Tonight I wanted to talk to you about missing people and some of the theories why people go missing in the woods. I am referring to, if some of you guys are probably familiar with, the Missing 411 books. It's also a documentary. And for people who aren't familiar, I'll give you a quick rundown. These are a series of books, East Coast, West Coast, in the cities, outside of America, about people who go missing. Now, I'm not talking about people who go missing in the woods who fall in a river, fall off a cliff, twist their ankle, get attacked by a bear, and they find evidence of it. We're talking about people who mysteriously vanish. Generally, these tend to be kids or people who are special needs who do not have the ability to communicate or speak properly, or older folks sometimes. So, what happens is these people go missing and are never found again, or if they're found, their bodies and their possessions and things with them are found in the same area that's been searched over and over again. A lot of times people report that, like if it was a child that they had, that they're 10, 15, 20 feet ahead of them on a trail and they go around a corner. You know, just out of their reach. They go around a corner for a second. They come around a corner, gone, completely vanished. Strange, strange disappearances. And there's been hundreds of these things all across the United States in our national parks. And the really disturbing part is our national park system does not keep a record. They're very hush hush about it. They're blatantly covering it up for reasons of they don't want bad publicity, or they know what's going on. Other strange things that goes on is sometimes the military is called in to investigate these situations. Local search and rescues left out of it. Some possessions are found, like if it's a missing toddler or something like that, they'll find the shoes and clothes stacked up on a rock neatly somewhere with no footprints around it. Or they'll find the remains way up on a cliff. You know, talking like a 3-year-old is up 2 or 3 miles up on a sheer cliff in a rocky face. I know certain berry patches people have known to gone missing from quite a bit as well. There's just a lot of strange things. I recommend you check it out. I did a review last year on the DVD. The DVD is pretty good, but it doesn't nearly touch on as much as the books do. Or if you go on YouTube, there's lots of people doing David Pilati interviews and a lot of stuff he does, and it's just bone-chilling, fascinating. So that's pretty much the background behind Missing 411. So the big overwhelming question that happens when you get into Missing 411 is what's happening to these people. David Pilates is very good about presenting it neutrally. He never really presents what he thinks is going on, other than it's something extraordinary, something unprecedented. So people ask me if I think Bigfoot could be taking people in the woods, or if this is my theory on it. I would say if you get into these cases and you look at it, cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman would probably be a good example for about 50 to 70%. There are some cases that are just too weird and too wild, even for a Bigfoot to really be blamed for it. But I do think in some of these cases that, cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman, Gugwees, Goatman, all the strange things reported in the woods could be responsible. Now, your average run-of-the-mill patty-like Bigfoot that you see, or a lot of the wood boogers in the South and typical Bigfoot, I don't think they consistently take people. I think, like, if you get a problem lion or a problem tiger or a problem bear with bad dental work or hurt and can't hunt properly, then they might try to take people. But for the most part, I don't think they do. But when I think you get into some of the offshoot varieties, like the Gugwee, the protruding snout, the separate species altogether, like the Dogman, some of these upright canids, and the northern cold variety type Wendigos, all carnivorous, all very nasty. Nobody has anything good to say about these type of creatures, for the most part. I know there's still stories here and there, but I think they would be a good example. Like I said, maybe 50, 60, 70% of the time, there are Bigfoot cryptid sightings. They're in national forests, national parks, and I think they could be a good explanation for some of it. But like I said, I don't believe that's the main cause in all of them. So let's take it a few maps here. We're going to just kind of generalize to North America because that's where I'm from and that's what I know about. I know the 411 books get out of America, but here's a general map of our national parks and national monuments. You could see California, Yellowstone up there around the Montana-Wyoming border, all through Utah. Colorado's got a bunch of them. Here's a map of our national forest, and if you spend a lot of time in national parks, you know national forests generally surround the areas around national parks, although national forest covers a lot more land. But generally, where you have big woodsy areas, you're going to have a national park, a certain section of it set aside for our enjoyment as preservation, and then national forest all around them. So you're going to see national forests and national parks in other areas. And here's a map of Bigfoot sightings. The bigger red blobs you see are where multiple sightings have happened. Now, if you see, this lines up pretty good with a lot of our national forests and national parks. Not all of them, because a lot of the Midwest is farmlands and privately owned woods and privately. I know some states are almost all privately held land, and some states are out there almost all public lands. It just depends on where you were and what the setup is. Now here's a map of missing 411. Now the one that my eye goes to, if you look all the way on the left in California, the big one with all the green and red around it, that's Yosemite. Yosemite is one of the biggest hotspots for missing people out there, and millions of people and tourists and kids go there every year, and it really scares me. Historically, if you look back at it, cryptids kind of make sense, especially Bigfoot, because a lot of the native tribes all around, there's a lot of different cultures. Now I understand some of them were friends with Bigfoot, some of them hated Bigfoot, some of them thought they were spiritual, some of them thought they were more physical. Tribes generally all did acknowledge their existence, and I know where I would go Bigfooting in Tulare County up there in the Sierra Nevadas, we were pretty close to the Hairy Man Caves. Now the Hairy Man Caves are those famous cave drawings, and part of the legend that goes with it is beware the Hairy Man. Don't go out at night, the Hairy Man will get you. You hunt during the day, they hunt at night. If you stay out at night or you wander away from the camp at night, the Hairy Man will take you and eat you. And the same thing if you go to the Pacific Northwest, they have the legend of the Zuniqua, which is the wild woman of the woods. Now there's a male Zuniqua as well, but the main story is if you stay out at night or you're a misbehaving kid or you talk back to your parents or you're out ditching school or something, the Zuniqua will get you. The wild woman, she'll throw you in her basket on her back and carry you off and eat you and do all sorts of bad things. And if you look in the South, not necessarily native beliefs, although they have a lot of them down there as well, you know, just the old-timey in the South, the last couple hundred years in America. You know, the booger man, the boogeyman will get you. Wood boogers will get you. You know, before people really had a name to it or decided that, you know, they were the only smart primate left on the world, people were afraid of these things. They knew these things. They saw these things, and they still see them to this day. And more so even than regular Bigfoot can be scary, people have been reporting dogman creatures. Now, everybody knows in the last few years, dogman's really become popular. Are we talking about it more? Are people seeing it more? Or is it just there's a term for it, so people are saying things more? I don't know. That would be a good topic for another video. Some of the other varieties of Bigfoot, normal than the patty or wood booger types, as we've talked about here, are the Gugwees, the ones with a protruding snout. We've done a lot of work with them. And then there's the Wendigo type Bigfoots that seem to be in a lot colder climates. They look a lot more like a patty, but they have like big vicious fangs and claws and known to be pretty much carnivorous. So there's always been stories of Bigfoot, and that's kind of the thing, is Bigfoot taking people. And like I said, I don't think a normal Bigfoot clan would normally take people, but you know, just like there are bad people and bad gorillas and bad apes and bad dogs and good people, I think there's some that would take people. And I think that's something to consider just for your own safety. Now, there are things that are commonly held in these books and things that I try to practice when I go out in the woods to not become a missing person. One of the things is people who carry guns generally don't go missing. If you have a sidearm on you, you have a hunting rifle, generally people who look like they have some kind of a defense. The other thing that people don't go missing is anybody who's carrying a tracker. Or if something snags you, you could turn it on really quick, like the avalanche trackers or the missing wood tractors. They're not like an active GPS that tell you where you are, but you turn these things on, you squeeze them, you turn them on, and then they broadcast your location so they can find you. The other thing, if you're not into guns, is bear spray. Although bear spray is fairly effective against bears, it also works on coyotes, dogs, people, just about anything else. It's good if you're not actually into carrying a gun. It can be very deterrent. The other thing, a lot of people go missing walking their dogs. Now, if you've ever been in bear country, they tell you don't take your dog with you because the dog runs up the trail, finds a bear and goes, oh crap, and runs back to you for looking for protection with a bear on its tail. So that's one of the things they say not to do, is take your dog with you. The other thing is the overwhelming majority of the people that have gone missing are children, which is really heartbreaking. It really tears me apart to hear this. simple little trails that people go on. Kids run around a corner, around a tree, and are never see again. It's very scary stuff. So keep an eye on your kids, or wait till they're a little bit older to go hiking. Do what you have to do. I don't want to scare you out of the woods, but this stuff is happening, and I think you need to be aware of it. So that's kind of my rundown on missing 411. People have asked me if I thought Bigfoot, Dogman, cryptids could be responsible. I'd say yes and no. Everything in this world is nuanced, and everybody wants a definite answer. And unfortunately, I think in some of these cases, maybe a rogue, regular type Bigfoot might be taking people. Probably not, though, most of the time. But I think if you look at Dogman and some of these other species and some of these other strange things that get reported in the woods that have some intelligence, that have some stealth, that have abilities that we don't know about, I think it points to a good suspect. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and a like. If you think I deserve it, please subscribe, ring the little bell notice. We got new stuff coming out. I'm cranking out a lot of videos lately. I hope you're enjoying them. Thank you very much, and please stay safe in the woods.